Hey guys, Doug the Gamer Dad here. We got a short video for you today, and I do apologize my clothes dryer is running in the background, but with the limited amount of space I have, this is kind of where my filming has to happen. We have a micro ATX ASRock motherboard here. This is a B550M/AC, so this is a whole heck of a lot newer than everything else that I've featured on my channel recently. But this is kind of what I do. Mainly is that I actually, during the day job and for my LLC, I build custom PCs. This is a motherboard that I want to be able to use in an upcoming build, and I had gotten it used, and there's a little bit of history to this, so I'll talk about that here in just a second. But basically, I want to test this out, see if it works, whether I'm able to post, whether I'm able to update the BIOS. When I originally bought this board, it was sold to me as non-working. I tested it out and it was working. I then sold it to someone and they said it was not working. They sent it back to me. I retested it as working. I then took it to my day job and they used it to test a couple of processors. And when they gave it back to me, they said it no longer worked. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if that's because the board was on its way out, which just kind of was something that happened to my customer and then at work, or if this is something where they fried my board with a CPU they were trying to test. So here is our model number on the motherboard. It is an ASRock B550M/AC. The B550 chipset from AMD dropped support for all of the 1000 and 2000 series CPUs, and it shipped out of the box with support for the 3000 series. It didn't ship out of the box with support for anything newer than that, so the only thing guaranteed to work out of the box on these is the 3000 series. That is the only reason I keep this CPU around. This is a Ryzen 3 3100. And I keep it around only because it is the most basic CPU that I can use to post-test B550 and A520 chipset motherboards. So our whole test setup here, we've got the CPU mounted on the board. I have a couple sticks of DDR4 RAM. This is just a very basic, pulled from a pre-built Asus ROG system, actually. I think that's rated at 2933, but there's no markings on the outside of the RAM, so that's just my guess based on what I was able to get with another system. I do have the basic GeForce GT 730 that'll give me video. I have a 500 watt Brown's Cooler Master power supply for getting this to power on, and then we have the AMD stock cooler I'll be using. And yeah, for seeing if something will post, that is all you need. You don't need a whole SSD case, nothing else. You just need the basics to get it to be able to display and post. So yeah, we are going to get our cooler put on first and get that screwed in. Again, we only need the basics, so I'm not even going to apply thermal paste. We're just going to want to see if we're able to post. That is bending the board awfully hard. I don't like that. I'm going to see if I have a different cooler that uses the clip design instead. And yeah, here we go. I've got a completely basic cooler that just clips on, so we're going to use the clips to get this in place. There we go. And then I just move the lever over, and just enough mounting pressure there to keep this thing in good contact. And the fan's connected. Now we just have to put in our RAM. We're going to put in 2 sticks into the primary slots. So here are the 2 sticks. These are again from a pre-built. They are DDR4 and they are functional, and that's what counts. And the final functional part here is going to be our GT730. And then I have somewhere to hook up the monitor that's actually got a GPU. This motherboard does have HDMI on it, but the processor I installed does not have integrated graphics, so that HDMI would be dead. We only had the 2 power supply connections to hook up: the main 24-pin and then the 8-pin for the CPU. Then all the rest of the connections is just a basic keyboard to be able to enter the BIOS if it does work. It'll go into USB. And then we're going to hook up our VGA from the monitor. And that's going to go right in here. Again, sorry about the sounds of my dryer running, but my schedule is limited, and this is what I got to work with right now. Life situations and all of that jazz, so I need a second hand for this. Okay, I got that plugged in with both hands, flip the power, and now just to short out the pins for powering on. Fans are spinning. Here's our post LEDs. We're showing CPU and RAM are both lit. Now it's boot and VGA. And now I've got post. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know why my workplace said this wasn't working. But, you know, I was just able to pressing delete. We're in the BIOS. Our BIOS version is L3.61. I'm going to check for an update. And yes, there were 2 newer BIOS versions that have come out since the version that is on here. Let's update. Yes, I want to update. So the version that was on here, there was a newer one that came out a few months after that added an update for the firmware TPM that included some game compatibility with some of the newer games that require secure boot. That got updated middle of 2025. And then at the end of October of 2025, there was a further update that changed the secure boot key, and that improves the security for Windows 11 boot. So we're throwing the newest one on right now, and once that's on, this is going to be fully ready. And then I feel fully confident. I have no problems using this board in a build for a customer, so I'm going to send it, and once that's updated, we'll check back here. Well, our BIOS flash says it was a success, so we're going to restart. We're going to get back in the BIOS. It might require us to reset the firmware TPM once more. We'll see what it says. No. Straight away, it's posting. This is a rather old GPU to be doing this with. I'm just realizing this is from 2014, and the rest of our system is so much faster. So yeah, here we are, DDR4 3200, 32 gigs of it. BIOS version is updated to 3.90. That's the newest. And yeah, we're fully updated here. So thanks for watching. Just a quick one today. We'll see you in the next one.